It is official. It may not seem like a big deal, guys, but we have basketball games. We have opponents for the 2025 SEC basketball conference season slate. We do, as announced yesterday, just some initial reactions I wanted to go over 4 or 5, and how this is going to work, guys. Just so we know, we are breaking it down. There are no dates officially, so I can't go over, right, hey, this is the toughest 3-game stretch. We don't have that. We just have the 18 games, 9 at home, 9 away, 3 opponents. You play twice. You played home and away between those 6 games. And how it's going to go for the future is you have 2 common opponents every year, like LSU's 2 common opponents every year, Arkansas and A&M. Alabama's is Mississippi State and Auburn. I think Auburn's is Georgia and Alabama, stuff like that. And you're going to rotate that 3rd opponent you play every year, or you'll play and you'll go at their place and you'll play at home. So that is how this is going to work. Again, no dates, just opponents. But before we get into it, I am your host, Dave Shumate, coming at you live at the SEC Unfiltered platform, guys. We got a lot of momentum building here. At the SEC Unfiltered platform. It's SEC content all the time, all day, every day, 24/7, 365. Like, subscribe. The momentum is through the roof. Speaking of momentum, don't forget about our guys over at RHOBACK, guys. Go to RHOBACK.com and use code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. Like I've mentioned before in other videos, they're announcing these football times. You saw Miami at Florida at the Swamp. That's going to be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff. You need that breathable collared shirt. You can get it RHOBACK. You need it. That humidity, it's going to hurt you. Hey, even for the Georgia-Clemson game at noon at Mercedes-Benz, I've been to Mercedes-Benz. Gets a little cool in there a little bit, especially when they're trying to warm that up around Labor Day weekend. Could be a little nippy. Get that long sleeve little zip. Stay warm in the Benz, man. Stay warm. Get that red and black pullover there to support your Georgia Bulldogs over there. But again, 20% off your first purchase. Use code SECU. But back to it, just some initial point of views here heading in to conference play, just initially looking at it. Why Tennessee's not getting any of the newbies at home at the Food City Center. I always call it Thompson Bowl Arena. That's what it's always going to be to me. But Oklahoma and Texas not making a trip to Knoxville this year. Thought that was interesting. Thought Tennessee would get to host at least one of them. But Tennessee will be going to the Moody Center in Austin, and they'll be traveling to Norman to take on Porter Moser's team. So I thought that was a little interesting dynamic. That was weird to me. I thought A&M, moving over to A&M, they got a pretty easy road slate. Didn't think it was bad. Just hopping off again. I don't know dates, so that's going to factor into it. But just surface level, what we know is some of these rosters starting to get a little bit locked in now, except for the graduate guys who could leave last minute. Most of these rosters are kind of locked in. I mean, even Cal and them with the low roster numbers, they seem like they're going to stay at 7 or 8 because that's what he wants to roll with. But A&M, I mean, you see it at Florida, at Kentucky. I think that's going to be tough. At LSU, I don't think Matt McMahon and them done a phenomenal job in the portal improving that roster. At Ole Miss, I mean, you got Matthew Morrell back. I mean, I like the Sean Badula kid they added from Virginia Tech. They could be solid, could be a decently tough game. At Mississippi State, you got Josh Hubbard back. RJ Melendez from Georgia transferred there. They could be solid, but again, nothing like overwhelming here. At Missouri, I mean, what are we going to bounce back? Is Missouri going to bounce back? Is Dennis Gates and his team going to bounce back after a winless? They went defeated in conference play last year. At Oklahoma, Porter Moser, I mean, they just got Muhammad Wagee, the big guy from Alabama. They're kind of low on numbers. I'm not high on Oklahoma next year. At South Carolina, they got some guys back. Added Nick Pringle from Alabama in their front court. Lamont Pearson, can they bounce back after another great season? Can they stay hungry? Not unsure about that. Then they go to the Moody Center. But again, I don't think – again, this league, I think people need to understand. This league is as good as it's been in a very, very, very long time. So there's no easy schedule anymore. But this is very manageable. So that stood out to me as well from that standpoint. Going to the other points that I wanted to cover here, how about Alabama's road slate? Let's go up a little bit. How about Alabama's road slate at Arkansas, which, to be fair, they haven't gone there a lot really in the last 2 years. Just solo dolo. That's the only game this year Alabama and Arkansas played this year. Really, I think 17, 18 was the last time Alabama went to Arkansas, just when it was a standalone, just one game. I mean, 2 years ago they went to Fayetteville. the 22-23 season, the 2023 conference season, but Arkansas also had to return that trip to Tuscaloosa. So at Arkansas, at Auburn, at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, at Missouri, at South Carolina, at Tennessee, at Texas, and then at A&M. Woo! That's a tough road slate. That's a tough road slate. Add in what Nate Oates is going to schedule out of conference. That's an unbelievably tough schedule. Tough schedule right there. How about Kentucky? Another thing I thought, what do you notice here? Remember, home games on the left are the unfilled white ones. So really, let's look at Florida's home schedule here on the left. Who do you notice not on there? We got Georgia, Ole Miss, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M, Vandy. Let's mosey on over to Kentucky's away schedule here. Right here in the white, at Alabama, at Georgia, at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, at Missouri, at Oklahoma, at Tennessee, at Texas, and at Vanderbilt. What do you not see? What are we missing here? A trip to Gainesville. A trip to Gainesville. For the first time since 1968, the Kentucky Wildcats will not be playing a basketball game in Gainesville. Remember, we used to have the East and West. That's only staying. That's only a thing right now in baseball, and that's going to end after next year. So since Oklahoma and Texas are coming, there's no more divisions. Remember, in football, there's no more divisions. I remember Florida, Kentucky were in the East. Even when they went away from the divisions in basketball, they kept, because they had that rivalry for so long. For pretty much the 2010s to 2018, a lot of it was Kentucky or Florida for the SEC's relevance of basketball. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, it was. So first time since 1968, Big Blue Nation, the Wildcats, Mark Pope's first season at Kentucky, they will not be going to Gainesville, to the O-Dome. I'm sticking to it. Just like I said, Thompson-Boling Arena in Knoxville will always be Thompson-Boling Arena. It will always be the O-Dome. Kentucky will not be there. Kentucky will not be there in 2024. And then finally, the pretty obvious one. We only see, if you want to stay on Kentucky's schedule here, you only see them Arkansas Razorbacks, their former head coach John Calipari once. You only see him once, and it's a return trip to Rupp. We knew that was coming. But why couldn't we get this game twice? Why couldn't we get this game twice? I feel like not getting on to the SEC here. I get it. It's harder. It's harder said than done, or easier said than done. But they always kind of mess up the basketball and baseball schedules for whatever reason. Like, we can't ever get the number 1 and number 2 teams in the leagues playing each other regularly in baseball. I mean, what do we go 2 years without Tennessee and Arkansas in baseball between the Dave Van Horn and Tony Vitello rivalry? And then finally, when they announced the schedule in the fall, we had enough fans and baseball people. Dude, what are we doing? Why is that not a series this year? They finally brought it in and they changed it up. But I mean, why are we not getting Arkansas, Kentucky, Cal, Kentucky twice this year? Why just once? Well, I mean, I'm happy if the one game that they're actually having is going to be in Rupp instead of being at Bud Walton Arena. But why couldn't we see that twice? It doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really make sense to me. But those were just some 5 key takeaways I wanted to bring up. Remember, just think it's a little weird. Tennessee, the 2 newbies, Texas and Oklahoma, none of them were visiting Knoxville this year. None of them will be playing at Texas. Or at Tennessee. I thought that would be interesting. Thought A&M's road slate, very doable. Again, I have no dates, but just surface level as we stand right now on May 14th. I think this is a very manageable schedule. Alabama's road schedule on the other foot, very tough outside of mystery teams at Missouri and at South Carolina. I think everybody else is going to be pretty solid on that road slate. So I think that's a very tough schedule right there. Kentucky, Florida. Kentucky will not be making the trip to Gainesville for the first time since 1968. Since 1968. That's honestly pretty incredible from that standpoint. And then finally, guys, we only get Cal versus Kentucky once. I'll be interested to see when that date is, but we'll only get it once. It will be in Lexington, but why couldn't we get that twice? But just some initial reactions from the 2025 SEC basketball conference schedule release. We'll be getting dates here. I think probably the end of July, sometime in July, at the latest early August. But just, man, I'm fired up for Oklahoma and Texas joining the league. But just some initial thoughts I wanted to get to. Again, I'm your host, Dave Shumate, coming at you here from the SEC Unfiltered platform. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all things SEC, 24/7, 365 coming at you. You have a phenomenal day.